Okay, so I'm getting to know the format of this podcast, and maybe it's just going to always be a floating format where sometimes I'm taking recordings of the morning invocations. If you want me to continue to record those, please let me know. I've enabled the messages so you can leave me a 1-minute message. And then we've gotten through the psychic practices, what I have notes on so far. I have other notes that are more incorporated into messages that that have been directly downloaded, I guess I'll use that word, or envisioned in meditations. Or in sitting and listening, rather. So I will get into that, and there's some other practices that I want to start recording as well. So just know that I will try to label episodes I'll just continue labeling morning invocations as such, and then ones that are not labeled that way will either be the practices themselves, or as I released yesterday, recording of an example of what it is like to sit and ask and listen. I did put in the description yesterday that happens a lot quicker when I'm not trying to put words to it, but I wanted to sit and put words to it. I think to give you an example of what it is like so that you can go into your own practice if you haven't done so already. And I was asked, what is a fractal donut? In episode 2 at about 8 minutes 30 seconds, and I started a little bit of description if you want to refer back to that morning invocation. But the fractal donut, if you take the image that I have on the podcast where it's that donut shape, that's actually called a torus, Torus. It's a mathematical shape. It's a topographical shape. And I liked this image that I put as the cover art because it includes these little dots. And so in my vision, in my head, what I see is each one of those little dots, there is another opening, like the center through those donuts that you already see there, those torus that you see there. Each one of those points is another torus, another donut. And then, so if you can imagine that fractalization, that iteration of fractals, and then you imagine all of those other points on those fractal donuts also being torus, and then you just keep going. You keep going in and you keep going out. The way that you can pan in and out on one of those fractal images. I guess if you're not familiar with those, I maybe it's helpful if I post a couple links so you can follow along on that visual with me. But that's essentially the vision of it. Now, where those link, those holes in the torus, those holes in the donut, those are like black holes or passageways through 2 other iterations of these donuts. And then all of those iterations, those are different, think of that black hole, that hole in the donut as a portal looping into different, perhaps it's visuals, perhaps it's feelings, perhaps it's experiences. And without being able to communicate what I have in my mind to a programmer, to put a visual to it to share with you, which I will get to at some point, because I want to see it for myself, to understand, to see the landscape myself, because I can see it in my head and I can very limitedly describe what it is in my mind, but I want to see where it connects, because what happens in my mind is more of an experience than an actual seeing where those points connect and how they loop through. I'm still, there's some sort of tunnel, and in a couple of visions, it's been like a snake skin, like as if you're moving through and if you think of a snake skin that's been shed, that skin has those little portals, well, they are portals, but they're like little windows. So you're moving along as if on a train through this snake skin, and that can move and overlap with itself. Not just overlap, but expand and go within. So that is when I'm saying things like you are nourished by spirit as it moves through you, the divine, like that's kind of that movement and the divine flame that is at the center of what you call you and also has no center. Those are kind of the nodes that you see, those little black holes, those portals. And there's something more to that portal. I'm not sure if I want to call it a spine, but there's a movement, there's an energy, there's a movement of energy there that could be considered like a spine if a spine didn't immediately conjure up something physical in your mind. So you're encapsulated in, if you zoom out from that image, you're encapsulated in it. And you are still an encapsulation of it because these energies are moving through you. Like as if you want to look at the cover art and imagine that your body is at that center. Okay? And then, of course, you can imagine your spine being the physical spine in the center. So however you want to imagine that for yourself. And so it's this dancing cosmic fabric that swirls in and over and through and upon itself, growing itself as it fractals. And by growing, it doesn't necessarily just mean bigger. It means small. It's expansion in all directions. There is no up or down. It's expanding in all directions because that's what fractals do. You could get lost in an image of something fractaling in and out. It's hard to know where you are in that. And so if you're doing this visualization and you feel if that's too much, if that feels like a little too much, breathe into your body. It's right here. Your body is wherever you are breathing. And you can breathe into all of these spaces, but your physical body, your physical breath links you to this physical body. So this is moving within and without of you. You are connected into all of that. I'm hoping that gives a better idea of the fractal donut, which is actually a torus, which is actually like there's I will link up some of the images, a few links that maybe will help with this image, because within this torus there can be this Mobius strip, and I'm curious if this Mobius strip thing is somehow connected to what a Klein bottle does. So I don't know if anybody else likes to nerd out on mathematical stuff, topography, things like that. I will just include a couple little links for those of you who might want to have like a more tangible visualization to follow on that with me, but know that I am not a mathematician, nor am I a physicist, and this is stuff that I would love to actually hand off to somebody and say, is this a possibility? Because this is what I see. And I will share with you that there was one visualization where I felt propelled out to the outer edge. And it scared the shit out of me. And I don't really know how to describe that, but it was the feeling of being so at one that, the black and the white mixed together to gray, the light and the dark are so mixed together that it's bright in a way that you can't describe, because light is bright. Light can be so bright that you can't see anything, and darkness can be so dark that you can't see anything. So it's bright in that you can't see anything. And in that moment, I remembered, this is why we are many. This is the reason why we are not just one experience, because it is as difficult as life is, it is more fun than being in a bright gray space alone. And although if you're on the outer edge, you're not actually alone, because you're all one. Because that's true, it's in that moment you remember that we are many, that you are many, that we are doing this to experience, and you dive back in. You dive back into the torus, into the experience, and you can move through those spines and those portals, and you can be here now in your life, knowing that it's more rich because this is the interface we're playing with right now. This is the avatar that we are. This is the user interface that we have around us. And how gorgeous is it? How gorgeous is nature? I mean, it's terrifying too, but I mean, that doesn't make it any less gorgeous. So, okay. Hopefully that gives us an idea. I will re-listen to this at a later date when I have a little bit more time, and I promise to include those links at that time, but it will not be today. I apologize for that. So, wishing you a beautiful day.
Thank you.